So I think today's going to be a two-parter because I think it can get kind of deep in what we're going to talk about. And it's really if we had a title, it's, it's Stop the Comparative Trap. It's, if we had to put a title on it that people gravitate to, it's the 6 steps to hope, right? And why is, or the 3 or the 6 takeaways to have hope. And I think it's important because it can be the at least the things that I'll say, and you guys can chime in. It's really, it can get pretty deep in terms of how we bring ourselves to the table. I'll be a little self-deprecating today. We have this, and I have definitely been guilty of it in the past. We think everything in our life has to be perfect, right? And we think it has to be perfect because we compare ourselves to our own highlight reel, A. B, more importantly now because of social media, we compare ourselves to those that we revere or those that we see on Facebook that looks like I should be able to do that, or I do that. When I gave part of my talk last night was, when people start using social media to build their business, they think that the way they learned and the things that appeal to them should appeal to the masses, right? And that's just not true. What appeals to an entrepreneur who wants to teach or give something, they were sold based on someone else's story, and their story gravitated to them. So we get into this comparative trap about ourselves, and social media, especially for children, has just magnified that outwardly, right? And then what happens is we try to become something we're not, and then we stuff so much more down inside that we don't even realize that we do it. When we look at fitness and health, I think I've commented on this before, but when we go to the gym, especially males, and it's females too, you compare yourself to 10 years prior. Like you should be able to do something you did 10 years ago. And when you can't do that, the negative self-deprecating that goes into it is brutal. And then what happens to you the days after is even worse. And then as we get older and we go through the weight loss process of wanting to look better naked, right? Because that's what we all look at. We compare ourselves to 10 years prior, or what we could have done, or what we were at our best, right? And that can be really brutal, right? That comparative trap it does not serve us in any capacity, right? Because we're looking towards the past, or we're looking at someone else and trying to be something we're not. And when I look at myself, and I look at that I do a lot of speaking now live like this. I do a lot of teaching, but if I just had to shoot a video or do tasks that just need to be done, that's not ELF for me, right? But serving myself and giving myself and being who I am genuinely, that is fulfilling. But what I have to do is I can't compare myself to my former past, how I was really task oriented. And I have to realize what that did to me holistically. And I have to be where I am at. I have to meet myself where I am today going forward. And I have to honor that in a way and make adjustments as I need to along the way. If I had to, if we had to use the word hope, and hope in a positive thought process, I take this story that has stuck with me for a very, very long time when I first heard it. And I've told it once, but I'll tell it again. It's the story of the man in the hole. And the man in the hole is an appropriate story, because you can use any situation in your life when you want to achieve something or you want to be something, and you end up comparing yourself to other people when you're not achieving. And when you start get self-deprecating, when you start having non-serving language, when you start getting negative, you start putting yourself into a hole. And what do I mean by a hole? You start getting depressed, or you have anxiety, and you can't seem to kick yourself out of it, right? So the man in the hole of the story is, if let's just use our lovely weight loss scenario. Let's just say I'm someone that's 30 pounds overweight, and I want to lose weight. And after 2 weeks, I haven't lost any weight, and I start beating myself up again. So I'm going through the same rhythm that I've always go through. I start beating myself up again. I start overeating. I start self-deprecating. I start getting depressed. I stop seeing my friends. I stop eating healthy. I stop going to the gym. So I'm in a hole, right? And if we had to visualize the hole, I'm in like a well, right? But I'm in a very deep well. And up at the top of the well, there's a light. And at the top of the light, every so often, you'll see someone get past or walk past. And after a few days in the hole, you start feeling a little better about yourself, and you start trying to climb up the hole, right? And as you get a little bit higher up that hole, you get tired, you're hungry, you fall back down into the hole again. Until one day you're sitting at the bottom of that hole, and someone walks by and they have a new book for you to read, okay? And this new book is a new weight loss book. And they say, hey, I heard that you wanted to lose weight. I'm gonna throw the book, here, read this book. And they throw the book down into the well. And so you read the book, right? And you get all motivated again. So you're climbing all the way up, and the climb represents the weeks and the days that you're using nutrition and exercise, and you're getting to the top again, but you get tired in those old habits, boom, and you fall back down to the hole again, and you're all depressed again. So you're having hope, right? You're hoping that something's gonna happen good, right? You look up again, someone's walking by, and they throw this flyer down into the hole to you, and it says, all the answers to your weight loss solved here. Come to this weekend seminar. So you get all excited, you go to the seminar, you're all pumped up, you're full of energy because of all the people. You start climbing out that hole again, you get all the way to the top. You get tired, same habits start coming down, you self-loathe, you fall back down the hole again. And then one day, you look up, and someone's walking by, and they look down the hole, and they say, why are you in the hole? And they say, I just can't seem to get myself out of here. I want to lose 30 pounds. I've read the books. I've gone to the seminars, but nothing seems to work. And then the funny thing is, this person who's at the top jumps in the hole with you. And then that person puts their hand on your shoulder, and they say, listen, I've read all the books. I've done all the seminars. I've been where you are, but I'm telling you there's a way out, but that's not the way, right? So you went from having hope to now having someone stand in the hole with you that has been through what you've been through and can lead you out of the hole. So now it just doesn't become hope. Now you have like a plan, right? Now you have steps. But so there's takeaways to the hope with the man in the hole story. And when we're in the hole, at any point, whether it's relationships, whether it's money, whether it's how I look, if it's speaking, I want to speak and I feel like I didn't speak well enough, you can keep naming them, right? We all want the possibility of hope that we're going to do better, right? And when we have the possibility of hope, we start searching, and we start comparatively shopping ourselves based on the best things we've done or at other people that we revere, right? So if I had to give you, we'll say 6 things, okay? We'll talk about 3 today. So I'm going to title my 3 this way, okay? The first one I want to talk about in terms of my takeaways from hope is lost cause, okay? And don't bear with me here as I explain this a little way. You know, what does lost cause mean, right? You know, when I went on this journey years ago of what I want to do in business, I wanted to do in my life the things that made me happy, right? So I always wanted to help people. I've loved fitness. I've loved helping people in that, and it was drawn to that. So I built a business. I built a couple businesses with it. And when I started doing that, you know, I got haters, right? I got people telling me I was doing it wrong. I had people telling me that I didn't know what I was doing, that the way I approached it was not professional. It was too non-businessy. I didn't know what I was talking about when I was building other businesses for people within my business. And, you know, the truth is, we don't know what we don't know, right? And if I sat there and I believed everything that everyone said, I would be a lost cause, right? I would start self-deprecating. I would start having negative language. My language would start becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, and I would become a lost cause, right? But through, you know, mindset work, through things that we teach, you know, we start persevering, right? We start doing the things daily that we need to do, you know, and then we do well. And then sometimes bad things happen in life, right? I broke up with my venture partner. I ended up having to become a consultant within the business I worked with, standing next to the consultants that I built there. I could have viewed that as a lost cause. Instead, I could flip my language and be blessed that I was able to build a business where I could continue working in the business and make a good living doing it. And then as I rebuilt my business and my life, my marriage fell apart. I could have called that a lost cause. I could have been down in the dumps and certainly depressed. Or I could present myself doing the work, telling myself all how far I've come, all the things I've championed myself and overcome in my life. And I picked myself up again, and then isolation happens. And everything I built, all the businesses I did, all that work is literally at the blink of an eye, is gone, right? But here's the thing, if I decided that every moment of my life was a lost cause, then I would have never been able to get to the next chapter and be able to overcome that. So when we look at things as a lost cause, or I can't do this, if we sat there and we looked at every moment in our life and wrote them down, that we said, I'm a lost cause, or life is over, or I'll never recover, where are you sitting now today? Is it ever as bad as you think it's going to be? Right? There is always hope. But hope is how you define it, right? If I decided that I was a lost cause when I broke up with my venture partner for a dream that I had, and where I took that dream, would I be sitting here talking to you, building other businesses, starting an online business world after being in a brick and mortar for so long, right? If I can find something and I tell myself, this will work, and my language around it, and I do the work, it will happen, right? If you feel desperate and despair, think of yourself right now today. Write down the last time you thought that, and look how far you've come, right? 5 years ago, I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to have happiness again, if I ever thought that I could be in a relationship again. But here I am 5 years later, happier than I've ever been, better off than I've ever been, delivering what I wanted to do, helping people. And those haters, I find them extremely funny, right? You know, that's really my first factor of hope. You know, I use the word lost cause, but we're not. We are all great in our own way. We just have to be able to start seeing it. Like, you're not a lost cause. You know, some don't feel like they're lost causes in their lives, but at the same time, you have to, if we use the word lost cause and we just took the definition out a little bit and brought it down a little bit into just a little different meaning. Some people will feel like they'll never be able to lose weight, so they are as they are, right? Some people say they'll be single their whole life, right? Some people will always say, I'm always depressed. Some people will say, I'll never be financially well enough to retire, right? There's that word retire again. Some people always feel like there's something missing in part of their life, or in some part of a small fraction of the totality of their life. We can't sit in that hole and wait for someone to jump in the hole with us all the time, right? We have to think of the moments in our life where we felt desperate and despair, and we thought there was no hope for us. And look where we are today. And count our blessings where we are today, and all the great things we are today, right? The word lost cause I just used to just demonstrate a story of how great I am today because I've done the work. Everything will work out as long as we sit and do the things that we teach you, right? When we figure this all out, when we figure out that we have things about us that stand out from other people that we can give and serve and give back in return, weight loss will start happening for us, right? We could be better looking body-wise than we've ever been at any age. We could have more money at any age than we've ever happened, right? We could start having a different outlook on life at any point in our life, right? We've talked about in the last few talks about how our mindset is built in from our life experiences and how we can start changing and having new life experiences, having new outlooks, right? How awesome would it be to see someone after 6 months and to be like, boy, I don't even recognize you today, right? This is why our language is so important and why starting on this journey of understanding ourselves is so important, right? When I private coach people, the most common language we have is they are in a lost cause in some aspect of their life, right? Everyone has it. They just don't see it that way, right? And we have to decide, like literally decide to do the work or not do the work. Like it's that simple to say, because some people will, what we call spiritual bypassers, they'll tell you why they can't do the work, right? That's all. That's a little different, but if we just sit and dissect that for them, then they understand that they're just procrastinating for the work for other reasons. Like we have to get into a deeper way of that. I mean, do you guys want to comment on that at all? I mean, I just kind of started talking, didn't stop. Sorry.
No, I'll just add a little piece, and that is, Chris and I are both coming at this from personal experience, telling you that this works. We're the people that are jumping in the hole with you to say, hey, listen, we've been there. In Chris's case, it was relational, it was business, but doing the work is what got him through it and out of it. And in my case, being physically sick, same thing. He said, you can be better today than you were then. The future doesn't have to be a decline. And that's my case. I mean, I actually feel better today than I have in probably 20 years, which is shocking given where I was only 7-8 years ago. I mean, I truly thought I was going to die. I really didn't know that I was going to survive the illness that I was dealing with, because it was just shutting every system down. But this works, and it takes just a shift in your thinking. And it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it didn't for me. If it does for you, that's awesome. But the key is just to take a step in that direction. Just take a step, start moving in that direction. Because here's the deal. We've talked about this a little bit, but at any given moment, your brain is trying to tell you, am I safe or am I not safe? Am I going to survive this moment, or am I not going to survive this moment? And all those stories in your past where you think you weren't going to survive, well, if you're listening to this today, I have news for you. You survived. So we can reprogram that story. You can rewrite that narrative. You can create a new framework for around what happened, because you actually did get through it, because you're here today listening to this. So that's what we're trying to get you to do, is to reframe, because deciding what's safe or not safe today is based on your past experiences. So if we can get you to rewrite those past experiences, reframe them, can I create a new word? Restory them.
Yeah, there you go.
Restory them to say you survived, to tell yourself, to tell the you from back then, for the you of today, to tell the you of back then, hey, newsflash, we make it. We make it through that moment. So that's what we're trying to do, is create a new story for you for those past experiences, so that today you're not going to be predictively thinking life is well, can I say shitty? Yes, I can. You're not going to do that to yourself. So that's part of this process as well. I mean, we've talked about some brain science. We're not going to get in that today, but that's what this is about. I'll stop. I was going to start getting on a whole nother tear, but I won't, because you're doing great. Keep going, unless someone else wants to chime in.
No, I want to ask Henry to share something, if he would. On one of the calls that we had yesterday, we were talking about modesty and immodesty and a couple things, but Henry said something very thought-provoking and philosophical that I think prompted me to talk a little bit about what I wanted to talk about. But he brought up the 3 words that I thought were super important that kind of get into this hope topic. And the 3 words were trust, faith, and patience. And Henry, do you mind speaking on those 3 and how you view those?
So the way I view them is, there's a verse in the Bible which I really like. I view the Bible as any book, any wisdom, any philosophy, and it speaks about faith. Mm-hmm. And in the Bible, faith is defined as the hope for things wished for and the evidence of things not yet seen. There's yet and there's hope. And the key aspect for this faith is the work that we do, the 4 pillars, which is us not tripping on the process. Mm-hmm. Like we're being processed during the 4 pillars, and process requires trust. Take baking. You need the dough, you make it, you let it rest, then you put it in the oven. There's a trust that it will turn into bread. Mm-hmm. And the process requires heat. And it requires a lot of mixing and adding stuff to it. And this is the work. We need to take out some stuff. We need to add on some stuff. We need to reframe some stuff and restore it. Then we need to stop tripping on the process, checking the oven. Oh, is it bread yet? Mm-hmm. Like, no. Have some faith, like trust, be patient. The best food are slow cooked food.
I love that. That's great. I teach my daughters that when I make pizza for them.
Yeah, like when I heard it, stop tripping on the process.
Yeah.
You're being processed right now.
Can I chime in on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you brought up the Bible, and we started this call with, talking about comparisons. And I'm just going to mention this because I know there's some people who are coming from a Christian background who are watching these videos. And one of the biggest issues, at least in my experience with people coming from the Christian background, is the standard that's presented to them is perfection. And it's perfection on every front: physical perfection, behavioral perfection. And that's just a bridge too far for most people. Mm-hmm. So they forget that there's this process that we keep talking about. They forget that, and then what ends up happening is, we'll just use biblical language again. The Bible talks about this tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And, the whole point is to actually leave it behind. But instead of leaving it behind, most people put it front and center, and they've become experts at it. Mm-hmm. They've become, they've put themselves and says they're the arbitrators of good and evil. And then the problem is they end up judging themselves because they can't make that standard of perfection. They they compare the two and they say, oh my gosh, if God is good, then I'm bad because I don't match up to that. And it's a toxic soup, I'm just telling you. And the key to get out of it is twofold. One, you have to drop the judgments, drop again, using biblical language, eating from that tree of the knowledge of good and evil, just stop it. It'll kill you. By the way, it kills you on both fronts. It kills you when you judge it as evil, but it also works when you are, because if you're judging something as good, by default, something has to be bad. You know, there has to be a contrast. So you have to leave that all behind. That's number one. But number two is back to this process piece. You have to have, people use the word grace or whatever word you want to use, but grace for the process. And just, it's okay. So just drop the judgments and just enjoy the flow, enjoy the ride, you know. And then the irony is when you start to do that, you actually end up getting the things that you were trying to strive for in the first place. Like, it all starts to happen. So anyway, I just wanted to offer that up because I know there are some people listening who are coming from that background, and it just, I know no one's malintended and all that, but I sometimes call it white knuckle Christianity, you know, because they're just trying, you know, and it just doesn't work. I mean, it just wears you out over time. It's the striving that we know not to do.
Right. And it doesn't, I mean, isn't the expectations that they have, the judgments that they have, don't they then set their own expectations of what they should be? Right. And then when we have expectations, we can't ever meet the expectation.
And I'll add something just came out to me. It's funny that, let's call it, the story tells that God told Adam and Eve to stay away from the tree, and the tree represents judgment. So he actually told them, stay away from judgments and you'll stay in heaven.
Huh.
Right.
That's very funny. We judge ourselves, we're not perfect or not, and then we fall into hell. And one thing about patience, there is, I think James Allen said that, and I love the quote: be not impatient with delays, but wait as someone who understands. When the spirit rises and command, the gods are ready to obey. And it speaks to the 4 pillars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It happens when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and in the Old Testament, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I mean, well, how do you renew your mind? It's changing a belief system. It's changing your thinking. It's changing how you view yourself, how you view other people. So this is good stuff.
I can just listen to you talk about this all day, both of you.
Oh, maybe we could do that call one day, because I've got a lot to say on that front. That's a whole nother conversation. Even the word sin is a belief system. It's not a set of behaviors.
Right.
Go back to the original word, and even the word judgment. There's multiple words that are used for the word judgment. None of them. We've interpreted all of them to mean condemnation. Mm-hmm. When they don't. Sometimes it means discernment. Sometimes it's krisis, which is just a choice point, like it's a fork in the road. Do I go this way or this way? And it's not, none of those words imply condemnation. And yet in our English language, that's the only way we know to interpret it. And it really isn't in the original text, in the original language.
Why, in your opinion, why do we interpret it that way in our language?
Because I think the impact of us judging things as right and wrong has been around since the beginning. Like, it's just the air we breathe. We talk about cultures you're raised in and you just don't know any better because it's just the air. Judging things as right and wrong it's just the air humanity has been breathing in from the beginning of time. And it's difficult to let go of that. It takes a radical transformation of your mind to let it go. I mean, people are getting there, but honestly, this is one of the first cultures. Well, this is almost one of the first times in humanity where we have people really recognizing that we can let this stuff go. I mean, I think onesie twosie people have discovered it, and those have been the spiritual gurus of throughout the ages. But corporately, there's a group of people that are starting to recognize this. And I find that actually very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it starts with self-aware. It's the 4 pillars. That's why I love this stuff, because I was first applying the 4 pillars. Y'all hear me talk a lot about Lyme, and that was huge. But before Lyme, I was actually using, and I didn't have the language of 4 pillars, but I was using the same stuff. I was using the journaling, the imagine your outcome, the counting your wins. I was doing all that for actually spiritual growth. That was first. Then I ended up, and I thought I was home free because I'm like flying high, doing great. And then I ended up getting sick. And then I just somehow forgot that I could actually use this to get out of my, to get out of the illness that I found myself in. And then I'm like, oh, it works for that too. Works for everything. Mm-hmm. But, you know, and we've said that before. It doesn't matter what your goal is. Is your goal weight loss? Is your goal spiritual growth? Is your goal physical health? Is your goal relational? Is your goal business? It doesn't matter. All this stuff works. I mean, it works for whatever you set as your destination. Again, I said this the other day, we're teaching you how to use a hammer and nail. We're teaching you carpentry skills. What you decide to build with it is up to you. Mm-hmm. You know?
Right. And how you decide to use it.
Yeah.
Is based on success in making it happen, right? So like when we talk about doing the 4 pillars, we talk about making it an experience in your life that fulfills your life, but more importantly, it becomes part of you. So you have to build an experience around it so that you do them, right? So it doesn't become a task. So it speaks to you and you don't walk away from it. And, you know, if I had to kind of move us back into a little bit of the talk of hope, but stay in the same way is, you know, when I say this statement, there's a deeper explanation into the statement, but the statement is suppression is never a solution. Okay. And I say that because in our society today, especially for little boys, you know, we're told don't cry. I even catch myself saying it now because I've been so conditioned in my life. You know, we're told to not show emotion, especially women, because women have been deemed as too emotional, right? So we are taught not to show emotion. But a lot of people don't understand what they suppress, and how deep it can be, right? And when they don't understand what they're suppressing, when you can really sit with yourself and start diving deep and talking to that suppression, and I don't mean talking out loud, but really understanding what you're suppressing and how long it's been down there, mm-hmm. and it comes out, layers start coming out very, very quickly when you can get down in there and bring that part out for you. And by the way, just to relate to the church, I am sure from what you two just said to me, the suppression and some of the feelings that people have of how can I ever be perfect? Everything I do is sinful and against this person that I could never live up to. Do you know what I mean? I can only imagine those that have been brought up in such a religious household and in such a religious environment. How can you ever feel good? Do you know what I mean? I'm sure that can be a very heavy thing to carry with you for a long time. You know, if we just talked about premarital sex, you have this strong desire, right, at some stage, but you're told if you have it, how are you viewed, right? But at the same time, then you have these natural feelings, but then you feel guilty for having them. I can only imagine that give and take, you know? I'm not that old, but premarital sex and the way my parents talked about, you'd be burned at the stake, and we weren't even that religious, but I'm sure my parents had it. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, when we can start bringing that stuff up, we get a lot of clarity and redirection in our life, right? Because we have taken what is literally a daily stress and somewhere deep inside your subconscious brain, and you've literally released it. And it is liberating, like literally liberating if you've ever done it. You know, the one moment I can give you for me is, you know, I've talked about how I'm highly dyslexic and have a high functioning ADHD, but like I've been told I was stupid so many times in my life. Why can't I do these things, simple things sometimes? And the moment that I sat on social media and for the first time wrote something and sent it, and I didn't care what people sent back, like that was like, woo, that was a liberating moment for me. It was like when they say the rocks came off your shoulders, or however that term is, like literally that, I felt that. Like that for me is, was a moment where when I had stuff down and built my whole life around trying to hide that, like that was a very liberating moment that probably has got me to this moment, just to speak what I think or how I feel.
Well, because what you ended up doing was you had a narrative that if I do this, something bad's going to happen, or that I need the acceptance of, this may not be exactly your story, but this could be a story, you know, I need the acceptance of other people, because we're programmed to think we need that in order to survive. Like we need to be in community in order to survive. So we can't be different. We can't be unacceptable. You know, we need to present this conforming outward expression so that we're in community. And so, oh my gosh, that's the story. It's like, if I'm different, if I share these things, am I going to be rejected? So that was the story. And you doing that allows you to write a new story. It allows you to have a new experience, which allows you to write a new story. Because again, we're back to the brain being predictive, like you're realizing, oh my gosh, I can survive. I'm okay. Like you cultivated the internal fortitude enough to not care what these other people think. So anyway, I'm back to the 4 pillars again.
No, it's a great point. And what I think everyone should understand is, though, as we're talking about this, to stop the comparative steps, you know, to have hope, like what we're doing, what we are articulating, what we want you to understand is all these things we talk about and share, this is our story, okay? A story, a narrative that is formed based on your life, right? And how we take those things in and hold them and stuff them down, and what they do to us. What do they do to us? They form our actions, habits, and behaviors. Depending on what you want to change, those actions, habits, and behaviors could be holding you back. But is it the actions, habits, and behaviors holding you back? Or is it the story that you're telling yourself, right? And we're telling you the story forms the actions, habits, and behaviors. But what is a story? You have to learn to start unpeeling it. We understand that it's hard, but us talking it out to you like this in different forms, you start thinking about yours, about the things in your life that you didn't even realize were there. And now you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I do that too. And then it starts for you peeling back the process for you. So like when we post these and we give you little tidbits of what's in there, there's a reason for that. And actually I should just take what I just said and post it like every week, once a week. So people understand that. Because that is like when I learned from my mentors, like me just listening to them talk all the time, helped me peel back these layers and help me get from point A to point M or N faster than I could have on my own, because them just talking about themselves and sharing their own experiences and doing those type of things helped me get to my points faster.
Yeah. Well, and part of what this is doing, which is so true. I mean, like we're trying to create a safe space to give you permission to explore what's going on inside of you, with it coming back to judgment, without judgment. That's what creating a safe space is. It's a place where nobody's going to judge you for what's inside of there. And part of why we're not going to judge you is because we're telling you we would be judging ourselves, and we're not going to do that because we've got the same crap inside of us that you're going to have inside of you. It may be maybe a little your own little variety of it, but it's essentially the same stuff. But the other thing we're doing is, it's like a little kid. Or did you ever play on the monkey bars? Like, I loved playing on the monkey bars. When I was a little kid, you let go of the one behind you once you've laid hold of the one in front of you. Now, okay, there's a time for just soaring through the sky. Don't get me wrong. I love that too. But for the most part, what you need to do, and like back to Chris talking about posting, we can't just tell you, oh, well, don't care about what other people think. Oh, well, just don't care. No, what we're teaching you to do is actually to care what you think first. Because if you can do the internal, I call it a lot of things, deep sea diving, you can do the gem hunting inside of you. The more you start to pay attention to your own language, the more you're telling yourself, hey, I care about myself. Hey, self, I care about you. You're important to me. You end up having this it creates internal fortitude. It creates internal self-love, self-like, hopefully as well. And the more you have that, that's you holding on to a new bar. And the more you can hold on to that new bar of loving yourself, the new bar of paying attention to yourself, caring about what you're thinking on the inside, the easier it's going to be to let go of the bar behind you. And the bar behind you is the opinions of other people. It's I need them to affirm me. I need them to validate me. I need them to, I need to be a certain way or act a certain way or think a certain way or look a certain way because I don't want to be rejected by them. Well, the reason you're worried about being rejected by them is because you're now free floating. If you let go of that without laying hold of what's in yourself first, you're going to fall because you're not holding on to anything, because you're not holding on to what's inside of you first. So do that. The whole 4 pillars process is self-exploration, self-discovery, getting the junk out. You've got your own supply of water inside of you. You just got to dig the well. And then once you dig the well and get the water flowing, you don't care about the other. I was going to say it that way. You're not concerned about other people bringing you water because you don't need them for your source. You don't need them for your supply. And here's the crazy thing. It actually frees you up to be in a better, healthier relationship with the people around you because you're not doing it from a place of need. And so this is just, in my opinion, this is to be healthy and whole and compassionate and loving and everything else that we want in life. I was about to say, I didn't mean non-essential. This is essential. It's not optional. It's not to say that there are plenty of people that go through their whole life not doing it. It's fine, but they're going to be missing out. I'm just going to put it that way. They really will, because the relationships will never be everything they could be. But they're leaving potential on the table. I'll put it that way. It's fine, but you're leaving stuff on the table. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to do that.
Right.
I did that for way too long. I'm ready to go for all of it, or as much of it as I can.
Yeah, Brian, one of our mentors, he said, he put it great. He goes, literally, our life is just a cup of coffee in the grand scheme of the world and existence. Do you know what I mean? Are we gonna sit and think about what we could have done, or are we gonna try and do the things we want to do? I thought that was just a great way to look at, like, our life is literally just a cup of coffee in the grand scheme.
And turn that cup of coffee into the best cup of coffee you can have. I know. Better include half and half. Although I'm not really a coffee drinker, but if you put enough half and half or cream in it, I'll drink it.
Right. The one I want to end with, at least for today, is it's something that I've always called the Starbucks experience. And I think Starbucks perpetuated this or made it go faster in how we think, but it's slow down, right? Like when we go to Starbucks, we can order whatever we want, how we want it, and we get this immediate satisfaction, right? We can go to we have like a plethora of areas to go pick a movie of what we want to see when we want to see it, watch it when we want it, so we have instantaneous gratification, right? And so why do I say that? So if I could get a little metaphoric, you know, I'm not a gardener, but my mom is, right? And my dad does not like it, but my dad likes to take drives, or like long drives. And I've used my dad's analogy of when he took me on Route 66, and I was just so bored because we weren't doing anything. And I said, we're doing a lot. He said, we're doing a lot. He goes, make sure you take in the scenery, slow yourself down and enjoy it. But what's really interesting to me, if I look at my mom as a gardener, right? It's the perfect analogy to the nature, the law of nature, right? The law of how we change, of how things are supposed to happen. Like everything, and Henry commented this just a second ago with the dough in the oven. Like everything takes time and patience, right? And this is a really big factor, right? If we think of our life as a garden, right? And we used this analogy the other day. You have to plant something in the soil now. You have to nourish the environment and the soil and take care of the soil for the flower to blossom, okay? If Margaret, who's standing on the other side of the river, person B, where she's on person A now, she has to take the time to nurture her environment, build the bridge every day, hammering the nails right, putting the planks right, cutting them right so they fit, so she has a sturdy way to get to that person over on the other side of the road, right? And notice I didn't say take care of the flower that comes out of the ground. I didn't say person B on the other side of the river, make sure we're taking care of that person and forgetting about person A. This is where the fitness and nutrition industry like frustrated me to death when I just couldn't take it anymore. It's 6 weeks to a better body, right? 12 weeks or financial coach, 12 weeks to financial relief, right? Here's the thing. We market this way and we talk this way because we keep buying it. Like people buy it left and right? Instead of taking care of the soil, of ourselves first, right? Nourishing ourselves first, taking the time and having the patience to let the pizza grow in the oven, taking the time for who I am working towards to happen and grow as it needs to grow, right? I took all these years, all these steps, all these experiences, all these repetitions of habit to get to this point where I'm like, I don't want to be this way. I don't want to feel this way. I want to change. It's not going to change in the moment I'm in a Starbucks line and I need my extra hot double foam, blah, blah, blah type of coffee, right? You know, it's the existence of our Western culture that we have to have everything now in the moment. And I'm sure you're saying, well, no, Chris, I wait. I'm really processing. Like, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? So like how long is long? Like, let's talk about that because that's important. When we do weight loss, we want it in 6 weeks. It could take 3 to 4 years because everything you've done has put so much damage and your body has learned a certain thing. You literally have to retrain it, but it has to happen so slowly for it to happen naturally, right? We don't want to work for things, right? In a way, we want the savior. We want the magic pill. It doesn't, and it's the same way for a corporation. They'll bring a consultant and change my culture. Oh, you got 3 months to do it. Is that possible? Like, do you really think that's possible? 3 months? Like, we need to nourish the environment, right? We need to nourish the soil so we can plant the seed, so it can cultivate, and then flower, then blossom. And then we got to take care of the soil and the flower. Like, we got to do both, right? It doesn't work the other way. The soil knows what to do, and it happens when it happens. Just like ride your bike backwards, right? If we maintain the environment, we repeat the simple and consistent things we do daily, we'll get there. But we want goals for the quick fix. Like, it doesn't matter what vertical we do, it's the same thing. We don't think about where we're going to be in 5 years. We think about where we need to be in 5 minutes. And that is the mindset shift that we really need to have, that needs to switch for everything that we do. Like when you, at the beginning of the year, if you want a weight loss program, you could say, okay, 3 to 5 years. That's what I'm giving myself. Like that's a mindset shift. Like that's putting stress off you, allowing you to work on the environment, plant the seed, letting the flower grow. When it works, it's going to work. But you got to take care of the environment. Slow down.
And funny thing, I'll just add this thing. My weight loss journey started without a goal. And people
Awesome. Love it.
they don't believe it. Like I didn't have a goal, I will lose blah, 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 blah. All I knew is that I need to change my environment. I need to do some work, which is effort. And I just fucking enjoyed it.
Yep.
That's
Enjoy
awesome.
the process, right?
And
It
you know what?
took years. And I haven't gained it back in 10 years.
Wow.
Awesome. I love it. Henry, I just want to, first of all, that's awesome. That was my Lyme story too. I didn't have the capacity to have a goal that was beyond, honestly, the next moment. You know, I just didn't. So it was just process oriented, process focused, just moment focused. So I love it. I hadn't thought about that until you just said it, but you're exactly right.
Yeah.
That's
like,
good.
Think about, I lived 18 years being heavy, let's say on the heavy side, 18 years. And it took me 2 years to lose it all and keep it off. And it's funny, I was thinking of, okay, we need benchmarks for something like, yeah, checkpoints. But we prison ourselves with goals. That's a limiting belief. Like, yeah, what if you lost more or lost less, but you look freaking good?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is that bad?
Right. I love that. Was brilliant. That was brilliant. That was a good ending to this. That was a really good ending to this. Okay, that was 3 of the 6. See, I knew it would take the whole time to get through them. I knew it would take the whole time to get through them. We'll see everyone Monday. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Talk to you soon, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a good weekend.